don't mind that humming noise. It is my heater. It's getting really cold here in northern Alaska. So the movie I am watching tonight is Bluebeard. Right.
Let's do this.
Hello, Doc. How's everyone doing today? It's me again, Penny. And I watched another movie tonight, and it's called Bluebeard. So tonight's a little windy. You can hear the wind. I don't know if you can hear the wind, but it's kind of shaking my house. And my house is like tiny, and it's like kind of long and skinny, and so whenever the wind comes, it just like shakes it everywhere. So yeah, it gets a little scary sometimes. But the movie tonight, I've heard about Bluebeard. I remember watching a movie with Robert Redford, and let's see, it was Robert Redford and what's her name? Robert Redford and Jane Fonda. Yes. So I remember watching a movie with Robert Redford, and it was called Barefoot in the Park. And one of the characters on that was, I think they called him the Bluebeard, but that was where I first heard it. The Bluebeard, when you look it up on Wikipedia, it is a French folklore. It is a guy that he marries these really pretty wives, and then they would go missing. He goes to his neighbor, and he wants to marry one of his pretty daughters. So he marries the youngest one, and she's super scared. But she goes and lives with him in his castle. And so one day he goes and he leaves her the keys to, his big mansion or castle or whatever. So he leaves, and she has a party there. She has all her friends and her relatives and whatnot. But there's a secret room that he would not let her go in. He's like, you're forbidden to go into this room. So, little Beauty and the Beastie. But, so she's really curious. And she takes the key and she goes into the forbidden room. And in the forbidden room, there's, of course, blood. There's, like, his former wives hung on hooks. And it's just, just a crime scene. And she drops the key into the blood, and she grabs the key, and the blood on the key will not come off. And so she goes into, back to the party. Bluebeard comes back, and he sees that the key has the blood on it. And then he tries to murder her, but then the lady's brother comes and kills Bluebeard. So she ends up inheriting all his money, and then, spends it on her family, gets a new husband, yada, yada. So that's the Wikipedia's version of Bluebeard. This version of Bluebeard that I just watched, it's none of that. And this version of the story, it's in Paris. So it starts off with, just like a painting of the landscape of the city of Paris, and there's a bridge, and I guess there's water, and I guess it's the Seine River?
Seine.
And it shows the water, it shows the bridge. And then it shows a fucking chick floating in the water. I don't know. She looks like she's resting, but just chilling, floating on her back. I guess she's dead. I don't know. Most bodies that I've heard of that drown, they're kind of like face down, kind of like that. But this chick is just chilling on her back, floating. And so the police, there's like old timey looking police, they take her and take her away. And so they're wondering, like, why do we keep finding these women? And so there's a warning sign. There's like a warning sign, and they show the police sticking it up, and it's like, warning, there's been a few murders usually young women. Murderer killing young women, and if there's any information on this Bluebeard, let the police know. And they already have a name for this guy. Have they seen him? Like, why is his name Bluebeard? I've never seen the reason behind that. I mean, if they know who this guy is and they know he has a blue beard, would they be able to catch him by now? He's already killed a bunch of chicks. So the movie starts off after they put out the signs. They show a guy knocking on a door, and the freaking chick answers, and she screams. And I guess, well, the guy, his name is Paul, and he goes, you know, just want to make sure you're okay. There's a murderer going around killing young chicks. And hold on. And fuck, I need more wine for this. Got my wine. Cabernet Sauvignon. Fonda. Very good year. Anywho, so the guy, you know, talks to these chicks. Anyway, it goes into a house, and it's got a bunch of these broads in there. Okay, these bitches look like fucking Scarlett O'Hara. All of them. Their fucking hair is all curled up. They're wearing these giant hats with like flowers and all this bullshit on there. Like, their hats are fucking huge, right? They're like, but anyway. And of course they all have those accents. It's supposed to be, you know, it's Paris. They're supposed to be French, whatever. But anyway, there's like 4 chicks in there, and okay, so there's Lucille, who, funny enough, she kind of looks like Lucille Ball. Actually, she looks a lot like Lucille Ball. So that was really good for you know, not confusing anything. And there's Lucille. There's Babette. That's a cute name, Babette. Very French. Constance. So there's Lucille, Babette, Constance, and then I think another one comes later on. I think it's Lucille's sister. But anyway, they're all like walking around. I don't know. I just like recently watched this Wine and Crime where they're talking about if there's a bunch of broads in the same fucking building. I mean, it was like, okay, it's either like a sorority or it's some kind of like a brothel or some shit. But I don't know. Who knows? They never say why these broads are all together. Maybe there's roommates. I don't know. Anywho, so they're walking around in the streets, and they come across this guy. And this guy, I don't know. I thought he was pretty creepy. But looks like these bitches thought he was kind of hot. I don't know. I guess he was French hot. I don't know. And they bump into him, and Lucille, she's all like, hey, how's it going? And he's like, hey, ladies. And so it's really dark. Like, it's a very dark atmosphere. Everything's lit very low, and it's a black and white movie, so of course. So when Lucille, every time they pan to Lucille talking, it's like this Morticia Adams, you know, where like it's bright right here and everywhere else is dark. So Lucille's all like, oh my god, it's the puppeteer. When are you going to do your next puppeteer thing? And he's like, oh, I haven't been able to do it very much because of, you know, what's going on, you know, with the fucking murderer. But he's like, but I would do it for you maybe tomorrow. And so, of course, it cuts to the puppet show. Okay. They're doing this. It's like an opera, and they have a little puppet. There's this girl puppet. I guess her name is Marguerite, but in the song they keep saying Margarita, and she sounds like fucking Snow White. You know, that really high pitched like Snow White voice. Like bleed your ears or like call dogs, I don't know, but she's got that really high-pitched Snow White voice. And the guy next to her, so they're playing this like opera, and so there's the little girl puppet that's Marguerite, and the call it Prince Charming, I guess. And you could they started like panning up so that you could see who the puppeteers are. And of course the woman puppeteer, the one singing Marguerite, is a pretty blonde young girl, and she's singing. And the guy singing the Prince Charming is like this super old, like toothless guy. So his voice fucking sounds like the Prince Charming from the Disney movies, like Sleeping Beauty, you know. And it's like being played by this fucking old ass toothless guy. And once more I am here. Yes, as I love you. Yes, I've come, I love you. And it, like, the voice and the guy do not match at all. So there had to be some dubbing. It was super funny. Anyway, so they're doing the little puppet show. The little girl puppet has a super long solo, I guess. They're done with the puppet show, and a lot of people stay back because they want to see how the puppets are done. They're like, they want to see like the strings and all that jazz. And so Lucille stays behind. Lucille stays behind to talk to her crush, who is, okay. Turns out his name is Gaston. Yeah, like fucking Beauty and the Beast Gaston. And I don't know, I guess he's supposed to be this big fucking charmer, this, I don't know, heartthrob. He and Lucille are talking, and he tells her that when I make the puppets, I use likenesses of people that I have known. And so she asks, oh, so who is the likeness for Marguerite? And he goes, well, it's someone I used to know. And she's like, oh, what happened to her? And he says, oh, she met a tragic ending. That's all he says. So anyway, he's like, oh, I can do one of you. Blah, blah. He's like trying to get in her fucking pantaloons or whatever. She fucks off. I don't know where she goes. Goes back to his house, and the lady that plays Marguerite, her name is Renee. So Renee is there, and she says, who was that girl you were talking to? And he's like, just a girl, just a friend. She's like, bullshit. Okay. All the girls that you've met, like Lucille, I know these girls meant nothing, but what happened to them? And he's like, what do you mean? And then he just fucking strangles that bitch. She dies instantly, falls on the couch. She's gone. So he takes her, he like opens up this bookshelf, and the bookshelf opens up to outside. I don't know if it's behind his house, who knows. Anyway, he takes her out there. he just fucking dumps that bitch over, just like rolls her over onto the water, and there's another victim. Police find her, of course, and so they're wondering what is going on. And so there's one inspector, keep popping up in this movie. Ooh. The puppeteer, Gaston, actually goes to the police station and reports her missing. I don't know. Maybe trying to like cover his ass. CYA. The police are asking him, you know, like, what happened to Renee, da da da, and he's like, I don't know, she took off and I haven't seen her. And the police are like, okay, we'll let you know if we find something. So some of this dialogue was super hard to understand. I mean, like, I know it's supposed to take place in France, but like, they don't speak French. They say French names, but a lot of the time the audio is so shitty, you can't understand what anyone's saying some of the time. It's like, there's like one guy, I don't know, one of the cop guys, he has a cigar in his mouth, and he's just like, and it's like, what the fuck are you saying? I knew I should have used like closed captions on this movie, but I didn't. So I had no fucking clue what they're saying. It's just like garbled bullshit. But anyway, they're talking about the case. Gaston leaves and he runs into the old guy that plays, you know, who is in the puppet show, who plays the Prince Charming. And the old guy asks him about the play, and Gaston tells him that Renee won't be playing Marguerite anymore. And so the old guy's like, okay, do you have a replacement for her? And the guy's like, yeah, I have a replacement for her. Well, but I'm going to change it up. I'm not going to be doing what we usually do. We're going to be doing like a ballet. So it's going to be a ballet now. And we're going to be doing costumes. And the guy's like, oh, so who do you have in line to like do the costumes? And he goes, oh, I have someone. And he tells him who it was. And he's like, oh yeah, you better go and talk to her and ask her if she wants to do the costumes. So the old guy goes to Lucille's house, and Lucille's sister's there. So the old guy goes in and he asks for Lucille, and he's like, can we talk to you privately? And she's like, oh sure, why not? So they go in and they talk privately. And anyway, Lucille has her younger sister there. What the fuck is her name? Alright, her name's Francine. Anyway, he goes and talks to her. He's like, hey, can you do the costumes for these puppets? He brought a tiny little puppet with him. It's like a little girl puppet. He's like, can you do the costumes? She's like, sure, whatever. And then Francine is behind this, like, divider, you know. She's like, I don't know, changing or some shit. This movie was kind of boring. Anyway, what's her name? Lucille goes over to Gaston's place, and Gaston is putting on the charms. She goes over to this, like, it looks like a couch, but it's like an ottoman. I don't know. It's like a couch / ottoman. And then somehow she picks up this, like, piece of, it looks like a piece of black silk. And she looks at it and she's like, oh, it's ripped. And then her and Gaston are talking, and she, I don't know, pulls a fucking needle and thread out her ass and starts like sewing it up. And she's like, it's done. So I guess that was her way of showing like her skill or something. It'll come up later on though. That fucking silky black piece of cloth. I wish I would have used captions. I have no fucking clue what that was. These back hallways of his like castle, and there's a guy coming in, and Gaston lets him in, and him and this guy start talking. And this guy, maybe that's where this Bluebeard bullshit came from, but he's got like this pointy little beard. It's like, and like a mustache and like little beard. But he's like this old guy. And he comes in and he's like, you better stop killing these bitches and throwing them into the Seine for
Sin.
the police to find. You know, everyone's gonna get suspicious. And the guy's like, whoa, what am I supposed to do? But, you know, how the bearded guy, he's like, it's like a frightening obsession with you, Gaston. So Gaston, not only is he a puppeteer, he is also a painter. So he's been painting his victims. He would paint these beautiful whatevers and then, you know, fucking toss them into the sea. And Seine. Toss them into the Seine.
Sin.
And then sell these things for like 5,000 francs. And so the guy with the beard is like, hey, you know, we have another person who's interested in you painting his daughter. The last one got sold to a duke for like 5,000 francs. So it cuts to it was like an art gallery, and the investigator, he is looking around and he's talking to the owner of this gallery, who's like this old rich guy, and he's asking him like where you got this painting, who painted it, all this stuff, and like, did you know this painting is of his fourth victim? And this old guy is, I just bought it. It looked pretty, you know, it's got a pretty background. The girl is pretty. And then they're like, so it's starting into this huge investigation looking for the guy who painted these paintings. Like who. And so they're thinking they can catch the killer of all these girls by catching the guy who did the paintings. And so somehow they got Lucille and her sister, I want to say Francine. I think her name was Francine. I don't know. I forgot. But they want to get those chicks involved and get them maybe as bait or something. And they try to like want to set up some type of trap. Word got out that the guy with the little beard tells Gaston about this opportunity for painting this guy's daughter. And Gaston's like, it's a trap! Yeah, I mean, obviously. But the old guy's like, no, it's fine, you know. He's like, okay, I will do this only if we do it in your studio. And so he's like, okay, fine. So they take him to his studio, and the sister, Lucille's sister, is the bait. Oh my god, I forgot to talk about this part. Okay, so the police start interviewing all these girls who might have been models for these paintings. And so they start talking to all these chicks, and this one chick, so they'll go in there, ask them, were you the model for this painting? And if the girl said no, they're like, next. They would send them on their way. And there was this one chick, she's got like short little blonde hair, and she's bragging about how I was the model for Venus de Milo. And they're like, really? And like, were you the model for this? She's like, no. Like, she wasn't one of the ones, so she fucks off. But so they get Gaston into that room that he wants, and then he's talking to Francine, the sister, and anyway, he tells her to straighten up, stop being so square or whatever. And so she's like, okay, whatever. And then he straight up just fucking strangles her. He gets like this, looks like a ribbon, strangles her. And the cops are, you know, like, the cops started banging in, but they're too late. Bitch is already dead. She's dead. She's like laying on the fucking couch like they always do, just dead. Like, he's a really good strangler. Like, gone. They didn't have time. There was no way to save her. And so the next the next clip is, you know, it's her fucking funeral, and her sister's there. I don't know. And then there's that one investigator. Oh. There's like investigator. He comes in and out of the story. In one scene, he seems to like Lucille's younger sister. And then so he tells her, he's like, you know what, I really liked your sister, so I'm going to try to figure out what happened to her. Gaston shows up at the funeral with flowers. How nice. What else we got? Okay. Later, somehow Lucille ends up at Gaston's house, and she asks him about that black rag thing, because it like pops up somewhere in this movie. I don't know, it's so dumb. I don't know what the fuck it was. And then she's like asking about it, and he's like, oh, I threw it away. So Gaston starts telling Lucille this story about this chick named Jeanette. He found this girl, and she's like unconscious on the street, and he takes her in, and he like nurses her back to health. And then he's like, while she's in the bed, kind of like dying, or I don't know what the fuck she was, like laying down sick, he would paint her. So he painted all these pictures of her, and so she was like his muse. He didn't know her then, you know. All he knew was that version of her that he nursed back to health. And she, you know, got healthy, went back to her life. And so later on, he tries to see her again. And then he sees her in her normal life. And he doesn't like how she is, like her personality. He doesn't like her personality. She's like, you know, gaudy. She's like loud, annoying. What does he do? He strangles her. Fucking strangles her. Because he didn't like her. She wasn't the Jeanette that he thought she was. That he was doing all the paintings of. So now whenever he does these paintings, he is reminded of Jeanette, and that's why he does all his strangles. He tells Jeanette that he's getting fond of her. He tries to strangle Lucille, but no, the cops start ramming the door. So Gaston breaks the window, jumps out, and it's like this rooftop, you know, like the fucking Mary Poppins kind of rooftop. So he jumps out, bam! The cops jump after him, and they're running after him, and he like starts beating them up. He like beats up a bunch of cops, and so they're running and running and running, and then he gets to the end, he jumps off. So he jumps off. I don't know if he got away or if he became one of the dead people in the Seine, and that's where they end the movie. It's just like splash of water, blackness, credits. They never explain why he's called Bluebeard. I know the little creepy guy that worked with him had a beard. I wouldn't say it was blue, but he wasn't the one doing the killing. It was the puppeteer. This guy did not have a beard. Gaston did not have a beard. He was clean shaven. This creepy ass Crispin Glover looking clean shaven guy. Whew. What I got out of it, I guess, you know, the costumes were great. The Scarlett O'Hara chicks with their curly ass hair, with their giant fucking hats. How the hell do you get through a door with those fucking hats? They were huge. The set was great. The lighting, I don't know, it was ominous. It was cool. It was it really, you know, showed the mood of the movie. I'm no expert, so I'm just talking out of my butthole right now, but it's what I liked about the movie. I guess the acting was okay. It was okay. I wish I could have heard more of the audio. If I could hear them better instead of the mumbling, maybe I could have understood the movie better, but I know they were saying random French names too. So I think that was most of the mumbling, because it was a movie, it was in English, and I know they were saying a lot of French shit because it's a movie that takes place in Paris, and so of course there's gonna be a lot of French names. So and I'm not a French speaker. I've never taken French. I can say elle mange, elle boit, my drink. That's it. That's where it ends. Oui, oui. But yeah, so that was Bluebeard. I got through it. It was a movie. Not as entertaining as some of the stuff I have seen lately. On a scale, I better start like rating these movies. On a scale of 1 to 10. So, you know, like the competency of this movie. It was okay. I mean, it could be better. The audio could have been better to understand what the fuck they were saying. So I guess I would rate this. It was very boring. I was very bored watching it. So maybe I'd give it a 4 out of 10. I really hope y'all, I don't want to say enjoyed this, because I don't know. I didn't really enjoy this. But I hope you got something out of this. I hope you all have a good night. Bye.